How you doing, everybody? Daniel Mosnet with Cowboy Charcoal, and we got another hot one for you today. How about some burnt end mac and cheese? Not any kind of burnt end, pork belly burnt end. You remember a couple of weeks ago we showed you how to do the pork bellies? Well, we're gonna take a few of those that we had left over. We had to sneak them away from everybody that was just going crazy because they tasted so good. But we snuck a few away, we hid them out. Now we're gonna take those and make an absolutely decadent mac and cheese. This mac and cheese you're gonna be doing flips over. So there's not a lot of steps, takes a little bit of time to cook, but as with everything that we've done here on BBQ Live, it's really simple, because I'm not that good of a cook, I just try not to mess things up. All right, so first step, we wanna make sure that we've got all of our elbow macaroni, because that's what you really want for macaroni and cheese. Just make sure that's cooked according to the package directions, 10, 12 minutes or so on the pot, drain it off, and make sure you just put it in a bowl or something. I put it in a big foil tin here because it's a little bit easier. Then you want to make sure you've got your pork bellies ready to go. And look at those. We cooked those. We used our Cowboy barbecue sauce, Jack Daniel's pork rub. We used a little bit of the Mudville barbecue pork rub. And man, these came out just fantastic. So we'll take these, we'll chop them up a little bit, we'll throw them into this, we'll make a little bit of a sauce to go in it, we'll put some breadcrumbs on the top, simple stuff. All right, first things first, we're gonna take our pan. Remember, we've got the cloth inside of our gloves so we don't get too hot. We'll take our pan, we'll put it right over the top of the fire. We're cooking on Cowboy charcoal and apple pellets today. So we take the charcoal, we put it in the pellet. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Using the Oklahoma Joe pellet smoker. So instead of being on the smoke setting that we have here, we're gonna switch this over to sear. We've got our pork bellies that are just kind of coming up to temperature, getting warm again. A couple of weeks ago, we showed you that recipe. So let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take some of our duck fat spray, which is pretty awesome. You're gonna wanna get that and just do a nice little coat, just because it makes everything taste a little bit better. So we're gonna put that in there, then we're gonna add our butter. As you remember with me, everything's low fat, right? So we're gonna get our butter melted. It goes pretty quick when you have the sear mode up and running. Okay, we'll get that going. Then we're gonna add about 4 tablespoons of flour. Gonna kind of turn that into a bit of a roux here. All right, because we've got to coat all of that macaroni. We've got to get all that cheese in there. And typically when you're doing things on the grill, sometimes you just need a little bit more liquid. We'll turn our heat down. We're about 300. We'll turn it down to about 275. And that's already coming together. I might need just a little bit more challenged butter here. Oh, that's about as much. It's hot. It's hot here in southern Nevada. You can see it starting to bubble. Make sure that's all nice and melted. We're gonna add a little bit cream cheese. And get that going in there. We'll get that all melted down. We're gonna add a little mustard powder right to this too. As soon as this cream cheese melts, give that a second to get going. We're gonna add a little bit of our half and half. How about that? So now we've got all of our low-fat ingredients into the cast iron here. We're gonna wanna wait. You wanna make sure that everything's melted and everything's well incorporated before you add anything like your macaroni or anything like that, because you just kind of end up with a bit of a mess. Okay, so we'll stir this through a little bit. You can see it's already getting kind of cheesy from that cream cheese that we added in there. Might add just a little bit more, just a little bit more half and half, just because we can. Okay. We'll get this all mixed up in there. Now I like to add the flavors that I'm using. We're using Jack Daniel's pork rub. We're gonna use that in our panko seasoning. So I'm gonna add just a little bit right now so we can carry those flavors all the way through. So you don't just get a little bit of that pork rub right on the top, you get some all the way through. and you get it with your burnt ends, and you're gonna get it when you bite into that crusty panko topping. Excellent. Okay, now that this is well incorporated, we're gonna add our macaroni, okay? And just as much as you can fit, or as much as you wanna eat. I think making a bit of a mess here, but I think that's about as much as we're gonna add today. You wanna make sure you incorporate all of this, right? Nice and incorporated. As soon as all of this gets incorporated, then we're gonna add our cheese and our burnt bellies. Look at that. This isn't out of the box, guys. This is real stuff. Okay? So with our bellies, you can see the ones that we've got here. With our bellies, you just take some of the bellies that you have. Look at this, look at that. This is that Compart Duroc pork belly. Just great size. Just want to take a few slices. Slice it up a little bit more. So every bite that you get in there has this just candied, beautiful piece of pork belly. That will also render a little bit more of the fat that hasn't rendered out already, so that'll help to moisten up your mac and cheese as well. Just kind of rough chop, rough this in there. Keep an eye on your mac, make sure that you're not overcooking anything. Okay, so from there, just gonna add that right to the pot. We'll add a few more pieces right on top as we plate it too, so don't worry about not getting enough in there. Okay, so once this is all incorporated, and it's pretty rich, you know, these pork bellies get real rich, so if you have too much in there, for me, too much is always a good thing, but it can make it a little bit overpowering and a little bit rich, so it's kind of the same thing you want to do if you're making lobster mac and cheese. Just want to add enough so every bite or so you get some. All right, so now we're going to take our fresh grated Joseph Farms cheddar. Going to add that cheddar, about 4 cups of cheddar, or as much as you want. 5 cups, 6 cups, add as much as you want. We've got some of our smoked gouda. Crumble that in there. Mix that up again. Make sure that everything's well mixed. Then once we get this mixed, we'll add our panko to the top. We'll close it up. We'll let it all get all nice and melted. And we'll add our panko right to the top of that. So let's close this off for now. So let's see what we're gonna do with our panko breadcrumbs. Okay, so we've got our breadcrumbs here. We don't want to do too much to it. We're just carrying these Jack Daniel's flavors all the way through. So we're just going to add a bunch of the pork seasoning here. Kind of want to turn that red a little bit, and we'll just mix it through. You can see as soon as we start mixing a little bit, that red colored seasoning just kind of goes away. So mix it up. We'll add a little bit more. And this is just flavor, guys. Okay, there we are. Let's check on our mac and cheese here. We're all starting to melt, we're starting to bubble. You can see we're bubbling all the way around the outside. Right as soon as you start bubbling on the outside, like it is here, that's when you want to add your breadcrumbs right to the top. So you get a nice crunch. You get a nice crunch as you get into every piece. And this will all melt. We're gonna start smoking here in a little bit. There we are. And then just for good measure, if you want, just to keep nice colors going, you're gonna add your seasoning right to the top. Look at that, beautiful. All right, so now we're just gonna push this back inside. We're gonna shut the top. Let that go to sleep in a little bit of a smoke bath. We'll move this over to smoke. so we don't get as much of the fire directly underneath the mac, so it turns into a little bit more of a smoke bath oven. We'll put this at about 300 degrees, and we'll let that sit for maybe about 10 or 15 minutes. We took it a little bit further when we melted some of the cheeses originally, so I don't think we have to cook it too much. We really just need the cheeses to melt. We need everything to kind of incorporate. We need that panko to start turning color a little bit, so we'll just let it sit there for a little while. What I want to talk a little bit about is these pellets. So the Cowboy charcoal pellets, a little bit different than some of the pellets that you might be used to. You can see that they're black, and inside they're actually black, right? Why is that? Why are they black? Is there a problem? Is there something matter? No, this is actual charcoal. So when we make charcoal at the charcoal facilities, we use big trucks, we use kilns, and we burn wood to make charcoal. And then the big trucks come in and pick it up and move it over to be bagged. Well, all along that process, some of the charcoal falls down and become charcoal fines that we kind of grind up a little bit further, and we make a real fine powder and dust. And that powder and dust becomes these charcoal pellets. We set them in, we add a little bit on, in this case, we add apple wood. We add apple wood, a little bit of oak, which is most common in almost all pellets, and then we add our charcoal, and we crush all of that, push it all together, pelletize it, and that's what becomes Cowboy charcoal and apple pellets. We have charcoal and hickory pellets, and there'll be a few other flavors out there as well. So when you're out looking for wood to use in your smoker, you know, some folks love the flavor of wood. I love the flavor of wood, but I also love the flavor of charcoal. So this allows you to have the best of both worlds when you have the ease and convenience of an Oklahoma Joe smoker and all of the flavor that you're used to with charcoal, and especially Cowboy charcoal. Okay, so back to work. Mac and cheese. Let's take a look. Oh, that's looking awesome. Let's see if we're melting in there anywhere yet. Oh, it's getting all melty and gooey. Still needs a few more minutes. You can see our smoke's coming at us a little bit. Let's get a few of these pork bellies ready to go too. Look at those. Those look excellent. So let's take a couple of our pork bellies, put them on the board here. That's a little hot. Put them on the board, and we'll just cut through here. And these are gonna go right on the top. Man, I don't know if we're gonna have any left to put on the top. These are so good. The trick to pork bellies is so easy. You just have to make sure you have plenty of time. They take about 3 hours once you get them on the smoker. It's gonna take you another hour to get them sauced and glazed properly. So whenever you have plenty of time and you're not in a hurry, you're not in a rush, you've got Sunday football on or a game or something like that, make some pork bellies. Make them the night before. They heat up really easily. If you leave them in the juice here, in this braising liquid, they heat up very, very nicely. So we'll add, I'm telling you, man, these are fantastic. I just want to sit here and eat this the whole time. I love mac and cheese, but I think we're just gonna have to eat pork belly all day. We make pork belly fries like we showed you, or French fries, just load them on top, sandwiches, burgers, sliders. Anywhere you would use pork loin or chopped pork or steak, you can use pork belly for these things. You can candy these. You can take them a little bit further and candy them with a little bit of brown sugar. But just go back a couple of weeks ago, we showed you this video, we showed you how to do them. There's a bunch of great recipes out there. Christy Vanover from Girls Can Grill, she's got a fantastic recipe. Derek Wolf with Over the Fire Cooking, his spices on these are absolutely fantastic as well. So I think we'll kind of rough these a little bit more so we get a nice little fine chop across the top. We're just gonna kind of sprinkle them. And plus they're easier to eat when they're nice little, you don't feel like you're eating as many if you have little pieces. Okay, let's see where we are. About 240 degrees. You see our smoke's working nicely. I still feel like we need a couple more minutes. Need a few more minutes on that. Can add a little bit more of our barbecue seasoning right to the top of these guys. And make this your own, guys. If you have other seasonings that you prefer, use those. Just keep adding your flavors, adding your seasonings all the way through. Add them at the beginning, add them in the middle there with the panko, add them at the end, add them out across the top, add them all the way through. A lot of recipes call for specific ingredients, but when you're looking at recipes, it's not like baking. When you're looking at recipes, you've got to figure out ways to carry your flavors all the way through. When you see these great chefs and you take these bites and man, these bites taste so good. Why do they taste so good? They're salting their food from the start to the finish. They're not just adding, it says a teaspoon of salt. They're not adding a teaspoon of salt to the recipe and walking away. They're adding their flavors all the way through. And that's really one of the keys to making sure you have absolutely outstanding and great tasting food. All right, we've got enough of those. Let's check our mac and cheese. Let's show you what it looks like. Look at that. Look at that. You can smell all of that cheddar cheese coming through, all of the gouda in there. You've got a nice crust layer across the top. This will keep sizzling for a while. I'm gonna sneak in there and grab a taste of it if I don't burn myself in the process. Oh yeah, that is ooey gooey. Look at that gooey goodness right there. That's outstanding. That's outstanding. You get some of the smoky flavor from the pellets in there. You get all of the cheese. We can add all of these fantastic little bits right on top. And so every bite, every scoop, you're gonna make sure you get some of this pork belly. Wow, there it is. Pork belly mac and cheese. Easy dish. We did it here in just a few minutes. Have your steps all ready to go. You can use lobster, you can use pulled pork, you can use any of the foods that you're out there cooking. Just make sure you leave it on the grill long enough. Make sure you leave it on the smoker to get that nice crust all the way across the top. Let it rest. If you let it rest about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, all of those juices will come back in and they'll be released back into the food so you don't lose all those great juices. Let it rest about 20 minutes and you're ready to go. I'm Daniel Mosnet with Cowboy Charcoal. This has been a fun one. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.